In the consciousness series of videos here at Billy Meier Books, we broadly explored the human consciousness. We answered the question, what is consciousness? But now that we know the structure of our consciousness, you might wonder, why are we conscious? Or what is the purpose of our consciousness? In today's episode, we will be exploring Billy's explanation on the purpose of the human consciousness. Hi, and welcome to episode 3 on what is the purpose of consciousness. Every form of life in the universe evolves, and each of these forms of life have an evolution that is particular to their life form.
Impulse evolution. The flora or plant kingdom have a type of evolution called impulse evolution. The impulse consciousness of plants includes an impulse perception, impulse feelings, and an impulse psyche. By perceiving environmental conditions through photoreceptors, thermoreceptors, and mechanoreceptors, and by processing them together with their consciousness, plants can form new impulse knowledge. Impulse consciousness causes growth, optimal alignment to the sun, and adaptability to changing weather and climate conditions. Instinct evolution. Fauna, or the animal kingdom, also have their own type of evolution, which is called instinct evolution. Animals have an instinct consciousness and are not aware of their existence. Instinct evolution takes place in an unconscious form and has characteristics such as instinct thinking, instinct learning, and instinct teachability. Animals are not capable of conscious thinking. Their instinct consciousness has instinctive thoughts, instinctive feelings, and an instinctive psyche, which in coordination with sophisticated nervous systems brings about instinctive reactions such as threatening postures, impulses to attack, or impulses to flee. Intelligence evolution. Higher species of animals, such as apes, dolphins, horses, pigs, goats, as well as dogs and cats, are part of another type of evolution called intelligence evolution, which is characterized by an intelligence consciousness. These species are capable of higher and more intelligent behaviors all the way up to intelligent communication. Microevolution. This is the process of compatibility evolution and mutation evolution of viruses and bacterium. Compatibility evolution is a process in which bacterium genetically change by exchanging, absorbing, or by losing genetic material. Mutation evolution is a process that involves random changes to the sequence of the organism's genetic code. COVID-19 and its many mutations is a current example of mutation evolution that we are all keenly aware of. Transformation evolution. Even rocks, stones, liquids, and gases have an evolutionary process called dynamic evolution. This type of matter is stored in the material belt of our universe and only has an energy consciousness, which comes from the creation energy. Transformation evolution is the conversion of matter from one form to another, which includes solids, liquids, gases, and plasma. Creation evolution. We live in the material part of a creation universe. And this creation, which can also be called the universal consciousness, also proceeds through its own evolution. The beginning of creation was the Big Bang, when everything and all material matter was first created. Our universe will expand for another 109 trillion years, after which it will contract. This expansion and contraction cycle is a lifetime of the creation. Conscious evolution. Of course, human beings are also ordered into evolution like every other living thing in the universe. Human beings are part of an evolution called conscious evolution of the consciousness. This form of evolution is unique to human beings. In contrast to the animal kingdom, the human cerebrum is much larger and more differentiated than other highly developed mammals such as the great apes. The development of the human brain enables humans to think abstractly, to form concepts, to articulately speak, and to use tools. Humans can also create ideas, cultivate fantasies, learn consciously, act consciously, and through this, evolve consciously.
So, to differentiate, flora have an impulse consciousness, fauna have an instinct consciousness, and humans have a consciously evolving consciousness. Conscious evolution of our consciousness means to be aware of ourselves. In other words, it's our ability to observe our own thoughts, feelings, emotions, and behaviors that make us different from other forms of evolution. In order to evolve our consciousness, we need to use our unique ability of self-observation. Through self-observation, we can learn and evolve. Through self-observation, we can learn to change our thinking and our own behaviors. Human beings, or the more correct term, Omidam, are the only life forms that evolve through conscious evolution of the consciousness. Growing our consciousness takes place through conscious evolution of our consciousness. So you might think, what does that mean? Conscious evolution means to be aware of our thoughts. For example, you can ask yourself, how do particular thoughts arise? Or, what is the basis or cause of these thoughts arising? Analyzing our thinking is the first and best place to start because our actions and our feelings originate in the thinking center. Interactions with other people provide us an opportunity to observe our thinking, either in the moment or after the fact. Of course, you can observe your thinking while alone, but the genuine connections, conflicts, and reactions we experience take place during human interaction. We depend on social interactions to help us make the mistakes needed to grow and evolve. Like mirrors, our fellow human beings reflect, or one could say react, to our personality, character, and mentality, and through this, provide us the opportunity to see ourselves from a different perspective, through their reactions. Without these human interactions, conscious evolution would be nearly impossible. Without human interactions and self-observation, it is possible to stagnate and not grow our consciousness. In fact, it's an overwhelming problem on the earth. The majority of humanity moves through life without ever wondering where their thoughts come from. There is no self-observation. Life is lived almost exclusively in the pursuit of entertainment and material things. For the people watching this video, it's probably evident that society and social interaction is declining. When I go to the city and take public transportation, it's very rare to even have eye contact with another person, let alone a short conversation. Everyone is buried deep in their phones, shopping, looking up the latest news and social media trends, or texting with their friends. Even just walking down the street, people aren't looking at the buildings or noticing nature. They're looking at their phones. This obsession with our phones prevents us from having social interactions we need for our conscious evolution. Since I was born and raised in the United States, I'd like to take a moment to share my personal experiences of Americans and their pursuit of material wealth. Of course, There are always exceptions, but generally speaking, Americans base their worth on financial status and the number of personal belongings rather than the quality of their character. They spend time comparing material items they've acquired and judge others based on their surplus or lack of material possessions. This importance placed on material possessions is called materialism. Now, before we fall into the materialism rabbit hole, let's just use materialism as an example of consciousness stagnation. If materialism is always present in our thinking, then there is no room for self-observation. If our self-worth is derived from comparing our material possessions to others, then our consciousness stagnates through neglect. Declining social interaction and materialism aren't the only factors affecting consciousness evolution. Another crucial factor is the lack of personal responsibility. Personal responsibility is the idea that each person is responsible for themselves. Each person is responsible for their own thoughts, actions, personality, and the growth and development of their own consciousness. A fundamental problem in today's world is that people don't believe they need to be responsible for themselves. They think that because of freedom, I don't have to be responsible for myself, or someone else can be responsible, or in the worst case, God is responsible, so I don't need to be responsible for anything. This lack of understanding creates not just stagnation, but a void of self-reflection and personal responsibility. So if people can't recognize that they are responsible for the growth of their consciousness, then they will never put any effort towards self-observation and conscious evolution. So now that we've covered the do-nothing mentality, or the it's not my fault mentality, let's talk about the do-everything, or it's their fault mentality, or the I'll fix my neighbor mentality. Each and every person has their own duty to look after their own evolution. This means that one person can never be responsible for another person's evolution. So trying to change another person will not only fail in the end, but will also create strife and disharmony in our relationships. If we really want to change the world, we need to start with ourselves. So far in this video, we've talked about what conscious evolution is, the relationships between consciousness evolution, social interactions, and self-observation, and how we can stagnate our conscious evolution. But our targeted question is why? Why should we evolve our own consciousness? At the center of this question, why, is reincarnation. Most everyone watching this video has at least heard of the term reincarnation. The idea of reincarnation embodies a cycle of life in which we are born, live, learn, and die. We spend our initial years in school to learn all the basics, reading, writing, math, and all the subjects that provide a well-rounded education. Then, in adulthood, we start working, develop relationships, and maybe even have a family. In later years, our bodies grow older, our children, if we had any, moved out and started their own independent lives, and we experienced life as a senior. Then, as we all know, one day death will come knocking at our door and our present life will end. This entire process is a cycle that repeats for millions of years and embodies a creational law called the law of becoming and passing away. This becoming and passing away, this reincarnation, is the process that provides an opportunity for our consciousness to grow over many lifetimes. In fact, reincarnation and its goal of conscious evolution is the proverbial meaning of life, literally. During each incarnation, we acquire wisdom from our experiences and learning. The highest value of each piece of wisdom learned is taken with us into the next life. If we are not taking responsibility for our conscious evolution, then we are not living as true human beings. To live as a true human being means to consciously evolve our consciousness, to treat our fellow human beings with reverence and respect, and to live our lives peacefully in love, harmony, and wisdom. Each new morning, each new week, every new month, and each new lifetime provides an opportunity to consciously grow our consciousness. The only thing we need to do is participate. And participating means to actively observe the processes that take place in our personality consciousness blocks. Observe, dissect, and question our thoughts. Learn why we have certain feelings, emotions, and discover within ourselves why we have certain behaviors, attitudes, and thoughts. This is the purpose. This is the why of evolution. This is addressed to all of you who are interested and willing to live life from the perspective of self-responsibility. Conscious evolution of our consciousness is not easy. We must be conscious of our need to evolve and be willing to look at our own patterns and be willing to change. It takes a lot of work. Learn to consciously use and apply the powers of your thoughts, because each person is the forge of their own destiny. All through life's ups and downs, the decisions we make affect us throughout our lives. We can directly experience the cause and effect that works in our lives and thereby observe and confirm the results of our thinking. If you can do it, dedicate some amount of time each day to your self-responsibility, whatever that means to you. Well, thank you for joining me for another episode. I wanted to leave you with an inspirational quote from chapter 28 of the Goblet of Truth.
Your consciousness evolution is the sense of your existence, and this sense is integrated into the automatic impulsion and course of the universal laws of creation, through which you are given the capability to be evolutively active in your consciousness yourselves, in order to fulfill the sense and therewith the mission of your life.